Welcome to episode 5 of PVTV, where we talk all things solar and answer your solar questions. Today's question comes from Liam I don't know if it's McFadden or McFadden. I don't know. I'm so sorry, Liam. Thank you for your question. Liam, your question is, what's the difference between the best quote and the cheapest quote? Which is a really good question, because in solar, there's such a huge range of like price and product, and everyone's saying that they're the best. So what would you say is, like, what's the first thing that pops to your mind when we say what's the difference between the best quote and the cheapest quote?
The first thing I think is that a lot of people think the best quote is the cheapest quote, and that's what a lot of companies are sort of marketing.
Yeah.
Cheap.
Yeah.
And solar has progressed to a point now where great products are really well priced, which is awesome. The best quote, it does come down to where you, I guess, place your value on what you want.
Yeah.
So the best quote can be the best quality gear, a really good installation company.
Yeah, it depends who you
Some people, the best quote is the cheapest quote.
Yeah.
That's just what 100%. They want. Because if you stick a system on your house and someone charges you $1,000 for it and it stops working in a year,
who cares?
To them, who cares? So the best quote is the cheapest quote. But in general, I think the best quote, and this is just my opinion,
obviously,
is a good company that can back up the installation for the lifetime of the warranty of the products.
Yeah, well said.
So they've got really good warranty solar products. 10 years is a minimum on a lot of the equipment. Yeah. So a good quote will have the costs for the company factored in, that they're going to be there for that time. Yeah. And they factor a little bit of service call, into that quote. Yes. So they can come out and look after you and take care of those warranty items, and not come out 6 months later and try and sting you another $1,000 because something broke out of your control. Right.
So what you're saying is that the cheapest quote is sometimes the best quote. Yeah. Or the best quality quote is sometimes the best quote. It depends what you're after. Yeah. But consider the company that's installing it, because that's equally as important as the product warranties. Yeah. And so I feel the exact same way. So when I think about solar, I don't think so much about product as I think about company. Yeah. So when people come to me with a quote and say this is cheaper or this is XYZ compared to your quote, the thing at the forefront of my thinking is, what's the stability of the company providing it, and what's the quality of their work? Because A, if the quality sucks, that's on your roof forever, and it's electrical. Well, not forever, but a long time. And B, it's they may not be around to honor the warranties of their products. So for me, at the forefront of my mind is, what is the company like that's installing the products? And it can be really hard to tell these days. And this is something that's like, we can tell sort of great companies and not so great companies because we've got the experience. But, so many companies have 5-star reviews now, and so many companies offer the crazy warranties and promise the world. And if you're not in the industry, but if you're in it, you can actually see when a new government rebate comes out, the 5 or 10 new companies that pop up, and they all have 100 5-star reviews, and they're all promising that their product's the best. So, I mean, equally as much as you do your research on solar product and, the panel and the inverter, I would say equally, if not more importantly, doing your research on the company. And what would you look for in a company? Like, what is a reputable solar company to you, given that products can be the same between companies? What makes a company reputable or gives them quality?
I think a company in solar should have a service team, or at least a couple of Sparkies on the books. Yeah. Because contracting out the work is all well and good, and there's some awesome contractors out there who do some really good work. But when it comes to it's, as you know, with a contractor, you pay them for the job, and that's job done. Yeah. You need someone at least in-house that's going to look after those jobs down the track, because we've spoken about this before. Solar systems, they can break down. 100%. It's just what they do. Everything breaks down. Yeah. You can get the bee's knees solar system
installed really well. You can install a solar system perfectly. Yeah. And we know this because, and I just want to emphasize your point, that solar systems break down, that we install thousands of solar systems a year. And we get calls every day for people who need help with their solar system doesn't seem quite right.
Yep.
And for us, it's quite easy because we have electricians here.
Yeah.
So as part of the
exactly right. And the training around that, because as the technology moves forward as well, and this is becoming super important these days.
Yeah.
The technology and solar is really starting to fuse into one, and everything's batteries are all based on communications and internet and Wi-Fi monitoring and all these different things that, you know, when they drop out or they disconnect, it's like a computer.
Yeah. So when people call us up and saying my solar system's not working, it's because they're complex machines.
Yes.
It's because there's a lot going on, especially if you get a battery. There's communication going on. You've got your panels, you've got your inverter. It's all talking to each other with the grid. And if any one of those factors has even a small issue, because of the safety requirements of solar, the whole thing will shut down.
Yeah.
And these are the calls we get. Someone will call, and oftentimes we can fix it quite easily. But you're saying it's important for a quality company to have electricians in-house, at least a portion of them, if the company's using subcontractors that's selling you the system. Because when you need help down the track, you're going to need an electrician to come back, not the contractor who installed it.
Yeah.
Because they could be like on planet Mars by this time.
Doing whatever they want, and that's just the way the industry goes.
Yeah. So
I think that's pretty important when you're thinking about what's a good quote, to bring it back to, you know, what's in my quote. It's, you were saying before, it shouldn't base completely off products, because products in this industry are pretty easy to come by. If we're comparing different products, it's not a hard thing to chop and change, but a good quote will be not too expensive, and the company will have in-house electricians,
cool.
At least a couple.
Yeah, so there is a sort of quotes that have a company that has in-house electricians, such as ours, won't be the rock bottom of the market. We're not going to be your $1,000 or $2,000 solar systems. You're going to pay more for a company that has a full-time service team. So for some people, again, it's right for you to get the $1,000 system. You're just like, hey, I don't care about like having our in-house electricians, having service, and all the rest of it. I just want to get the cheapest system on my roof. And maybe for you, then it's right to go with one of these sort of companies. But for others who want quality, then I would say research the products and the company more extensively, because one of the biggest scams in solar to me is not actually the really cheap companies that don't offer follow-up service, though it's a grey area in terms of, you know, are they really looking after people? It's also the other end of the spectrum where people are charging too much for solar, and gaining people's trust during the sales conversation, and then not, and then they're essentially ripping them off, for lack of a better word. So if you're happy to go cheap, go cheap, but don't expect great follow-up service. If you're after quality, research the products and the company, and don't, because otherwise you could get pulled the other way, where you get charged too much for a solar system, and that's where it's important to be educated. Yeah, because an install and the service component of a quote should always be fairly similar. What the install is. This is when products can make a difference, and unless you're getting bees knees products, such as, you know, LG, SunPower, and do your research on this. And I say this because the salesman will always tell you it's bees knees products. It's a job. So this is where research definitely comes in. Absolutely. And this is where it falls into looking into your products. And there is thousands of products, and it can get confusing. And we'll do a couple of videos to show what products are good. For sure. But that's the only time a solar system should ever be well and truly more expensive than for a similar size system, is you should be getting really, really good products. And a sign of that will be the warranties will be, you know, not your standard 5 or 10 years. You'll start to see warranties on the products, not the companies offering you, because there are a lot of BS warranties out there where they're like 1,000 years. And it's like, well, you're not going to be here in 1,000 years. So the warranty should be held by the product manufacturer, not the solar company, of about 25 years. And that's how you know you're getting into quality territory with your inverters and your panels. That's the really upper echelon of inverter warranties. So like you're saying, to research the products, don't get too bogged down in like the thousands of different products. There is just do some Google searches if you need to, and you can find out quite easily some of what the top products are. Every salesperson will tell you theirs is the best. It's the name of the game. So use a company that's, for me, got in-house electricians, like you said. I think it's very important. It's a really good way to start, and reasonably reasonably placed in the market, because it will be a little bit more to have in-house electricians, but not too crazy.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest way people get ripped off this way, and this is, I only know this from experience of being in the solar industry for, you know, the 10 years that we have been in it. We've seen this time and again. It's the door-to-door salesmen that do this. So it's because they're knocking on doors, you open the door, it's a lovely person, you know, but they're trained to get the sale on the spot, and they're always the ones that play in that region. Not all of them, but they're always the ones that are the overpriced ones, because they use the opportunity of, you know, we're in your area, it's a limited offer, it's really good, and you know, we'll give you a $5,000 discount, but they're discounting 30 grand to 25 grand, but the product should be 5 grand. So people are like, well, wow, it's amazing. It's a limited time offer, and you trust this person who's just knocked on your door, and they're really convincing, and you sign up. And so it's those people, if you're getting a door knocker on your door, that's when I would probably say, step back for 5 minutes, research the company, research the product, because we've seen people consistently get ripped off to the tune of, you know, 5-10 grand on products that should be only 10 grand for great product and great service. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's your research. It's important. If don't just take the first person's word for it. It's important to research, because there's a lot of stuff out there, and not to get too bogged down in it, but the warranty is a good place to start. Like you said, good products will offer really, really good warranties. And that's a good way to know whether or not you're getting the top of the line stuff. And
don't listen to the company's warranties, because we offer it's like a standard 12-year installation warranty with our products. Other companies are offering 25, 30 years, but it's very much based on the company still existing in 25 or 30 years. And a lot of these solar companies that start up, especially during times of government rebate, they just know they're not going to be here in 5 years from now. So they'll give you all the warranties in the world. So that's something to think about. But again, for some people, $1,000 a system's the right one, because you just don't really care about the follow-up or anything, or the quality of the install, anything like that. Don't get ripped off by people knocking on your door and pushing you to sign a contract on the spot when you've never even seen if the company has an office or a website or anything like that. And then there's the middle range, which is like where I believe we sit, where we're not like as Sky Energy, where we're definitely not the cheapest. You will spend a little bit more, but you get that service, you have electricians on call, and it's all tied up in a neat bow. But again, that's not for everyone, so we understand that.
I think it's when you are looking to buy solar, a bit of an indicator that whether a company's, I guess, good as well, or maybe
not so good,
is their attitude towards lowering their price. So when you've got a couple of companies competing, I feel like a good company will stick to their price because they know what's involved. They know they need to be there for you and that sort of thing over the next few years. Whereas a couple of companies who might be competing will just be sort of racing to the bottom to see who can get the sale. It's a little bit of a red flag that they're not future thinking. They just want to get it on your roof and get out of there. So that's something to think about as well. And this
kind of plays into the same thing you were saying of why not to expect too much follow-up service from that. And we know this because we have SkyCare. So that logo up there says SkyCare. And SkyCare is the division of Sky Energy that's dedicated to customer service. And there's full-time electricians on staff literally maintaining and helping people with their solar questions. And that costs a buttload of money because you've got these like highly skilled, highly trained electricians with all the credentials servicing solar systems. And so that needs to be sort of factored in. And that's why we'll never sell a solar system for $2,000 or compete with people doing that, because we know what's involved with actually looking after a solar system for 10 or 20 years. Awesome. Liam, thank you so much for your question. If anyone else gets questions about solar and batteries, leave them in the comments below, and we look forward to answering them for you on the next episode of PV TV. Thank you.